Good morning and welcome along to Leeds United latest here on the West Yorkshire Football Show with myself, Stephen Brown, and joining me to discuss all things Leeds United. It is, of course, Jason Booker back in our familiar Friday slot where we'll be pretty much, hopefully, here for the remainder and the course of the season. All the holidays are done, all that kind of stuff. So hopefully we're on a bit more of a settled routine there. If you're watching along live, get your comments in on anything we're discussing, or if there's anything you want to discuss Leeds United-wise as well, please smash a like on the video. And of course, get subscribed to the channel. Just a few days left then, Jay, for the transfer window to open Tuesday. I can't believe how close it is. And it's been a bit of a madness window, deals flying left, right and centre, all sorts of crazy business going on. I think we could be in for pretty much one of the most explosive ends to a transfer window. And we'll get into some of the links that are going round and a bit of goalkeeper news and other bits and bobs too. On the football side of things, obviously a very strong week, Jay. Myself and you, we got together on Wednesday to have a little chit-chat about the League Cup game and obviously the game at the weekend. We know it's Chelsea now in the next round of the League Cup, and you think, oh, Chelsea, and they do look on it this season, look as if they're going to be something a bit special this season, Chelsea. But I fully back us to go there and give a performance. Do you get the sense that, not that we've not taken it seriously in the past, but do you think it's a little bit more on the agenda this season, potentially a little League Cup run?
I mean, it's an easy route to final, isn't it? Easy, inadvertent.
Easy, yeah. Just
you know what I mean. Like, the bigger teams don't take it serious. You know, they often field kids and reserve players, and you're 7 games away from the final? Is it 6 games away from the final? Right from word go, pretty much. So it's a shorter format. There's no non-league sides in it, obviously. They quite often can come for some of the teams that are in Europe at inappropriate times, which really stretches the squads. We don't have any of that. Neither did Chelsea either, unfortunately. But, still, if we can get through Chelsea, there'd be situations and circumstances where you may be playing Brentford away as an example, but they've got another game that doesn't suit them. Did Brentford qualify for Europe or not?
I don't know if they just missed out, did Brentford?
Brentford just missed out and the Bournemouth Brighton did.
Wow, they seemed kind of set in those positions all season, and then
they did. You get my point. It does give a pathway to a final, in which way that maybe an FA Cup or at the minute we're not in a position to win the Premier League, right? So we can kind of dare to dream, if you like. And I think ultimately it gives optimism, winning games. It gives the players other things to play for. I think that the Leeds players within this squad will genuinely be thinking, we can have a successful season in the Premier League by finishing 10th, but we could win a League Cup. I think the players will genuinely think in that dressing room, come on, let's go and try and win the League Cup. Why not? We're not so far behind most of the teams that we're going to play that we would be then made to feel like we're completely in, no point being here. Outside of Arsenal, I'd say pretty much everybody else can be got at. So, I think why not? That's how it goes.
Yeah, absolutely. I think another benefit of it, it's like watching Dan James the other night. It's like, him playing that portion of the game last night. You saw him almost like come alive a little bit, and it's like, look, it's only going to help if you can give more minutes to more players, keep them sharp, keep them on the toes, I hope we get through. I think the FA Cup run last year was such a super interesting, exciting little journey we had alongside the Premier League. Obviously, it'd be it was great. I absolutely loved it. I mean, going to Wembley again, I know we didn't get the right result, but like I say, we weren't blown away. And, Aronson puts that goal in early. It's a different game. I love it. I think you're right. I think we're in the sphere now where we can be looking at the domestic cups and going, we're going to give it everything. Because it's 38 league games over 9 months or whatever. It's perfectly fitness wise, everything. There shouldn't be any issues. I think the squad is so settled. I think if you compare it to last year, if you're kind of bringing in someone like Peru and all this, now it feels like maybe the squad's going to be a little bit sharp, a little bit focused. We don't know what else we've got kind of coming in the next couple of days as well. So yeah, I'm dead excited for what we can do in the League Cup.
I still like after winning on Saturday, thought 9 wins to go.
Yeah.
Thought that. But what I did think when I was kind of playing this through in my head was that feels so much more achievable this season. You know, when we were thinking about getting to 10 wins last season, and how many did we finish on? 11 or 12?
Yeah, about that, yeah.
But when we were feeling about it last season, we beat Everton on the opening day and we're thinking 9 wins still to go. That still felt really difficult. And I talked all season about the fact that getting wins in the Premier League is really, really hard. And it still is going to be really, really hard. But the thought of winning another 9 games out of 37 feels super, super achievable.
Yeah.
And ultimately, I think that is still what we need to aim for, because that'll be good enough to keep us up. And then we can build from there. The quicker we can get to that, the better. But because that barrier feels more attainable this season, we can then certainly apply a little bit more logic to trying to win cup games. You know, because like when we lost Sheffield Wednesday last year, it was a little bit embarrassing, a little bit irritating on the day, but the circumstances were what they were. Nobody were really bothered because we were all thinking the only thing that matters now is the Premier League games. It kind of got it out of the way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like we weren't thinking, because we're going to play Chelsea between the September the 7th and September the 14th. It's only a week away. Yeah. So that would have stressed us out last season in terms of the squad depth. This time it doesn't feel like it will at all.
No, I don't. I think it's a really, really good opportunity. And, you know, you look at Elvedi coming in the other night and just fits in straight away. So, yeah, exciting times. And the overall kind of good vibe, feel good factor that's going on at the moment, Jay. I mean, it's a lovely time to be a Leeds fan at the moment. I've just seen a clip before I came on, Alex Cook on TalkSport saying about, you know, he's kind of pitching that Leeds could have a European finish this season just by the factor that we're so consistent, settled. Manager's been here a while. We've added really good players to the mix. And it's just so unusual being a Leeds United fan, being in this place. You know, I saw an article in the Eye by Daniel Storey, and he was talking about how Leeds United, this is not the Leeds United we used to. We used to chaos.
Yeah.
You look at kind of those years that we've had, and even when, you know, Bielsa arrived, there were still things that would happen that were crazy. Spygate, and, you know, and the stuff the board were doing with, you know, the new badge, and you know, there was always some silly, you know, nonsense that was going on. It was always chaotic. And this kind of period now, and I would say since the 49ers have come in, it's been so calm. And now we feel so settled and set up. But yeah, it's a strange feeling as a Leeds fan to be in this position.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost unsettling. It's like I said, I had that conversation the other day when we were watching the game, and I'm sat there thinking, we're just a good team here. Like, we're just actually a really good team. You know, off the pitch, we have things in place. We have good ownership. We have, you know, backing from big businesses, big companies, big people. We have a management team in place. You know, in my I can't even start to think about the amount of managers that I've had in my lifetime, especially since I've been of age to kind of really appreciate and understand it. Like sometimes we've had 3-4 managers. Danny Farker made the comment on it the other day that we had 3-4 managers in one season when we tried to stay up. And, you know, it's having that sort of stabilization and clarity in what you're trying to do is almost unsettling. Like, I always watch them when they pop up. You know, you see clips pop up on Instagram or whatever of like back on this day in this year, this player scored this goal, and you see Ellen Road half empty, and you know, we're either League One or Championship, and ownership were all over the place, and you're seeing, you know, David Sommer score at the Cop End or whatever, and we've drawn 2-2 with Crew. I'm just throwing this out, I'm making some of this up, but you know what I mean? Like it's mental. Really, when you think only a short few years later, we're in this position where we're talking about, can Leeds finish in the top 8 and qualify for Europe? Can Leeds win a cup? Like, come on. Like, you know, if ever we lose ourselves and think, we should be doing more than this, we're Leeds United. Like, come on, like, have a reality check of where we're at. Like, it's great, mate. It's the best. It's the best I've ever felt waiting for football. Ever.
Yeah, I would say kind of comparable to like maybe the O'Leary peak of that, where it just felt really exciting and going forward. I felt like under Bielsa in the Premier League, it was like you never had that feeling of, it was like, well, we've got essentially championship players who have to massively overperform, a sprinkling of stardust in Rafinha and a couple others, but it always felt very like this could go either way. And when the results start to tip that way, whereas like, I mean, there were so many times, I've said it, countless times before, so many games I went into last season, Jay, where I was like fearful we were going to get absolutely, peppered. Liverpool away, Man City away, Chelsea. I thought, it's going to be that, and it wasn't. It was, competitive. We're in it. We don't get smashed to pieces. It's brilliant.
Under Bielsa, we were always on the limit. It felt like we were on a train track going at the absolute fastest speed possible. Yeah. But at some point, there was going to be a slight deviation in the path and it was going to make the whole thing topple. And that is pretty much what happened. I think if we look back, hindsight's 2020, you can always do this. But if you look back and think about the reality of that time, I think it always felt like that was going to happen eventually.
Yeah,
I just think we were so engrossed and enjoying what was happening that we all just ignored it.
Yeah.
But if we think about it, really, it was unsustainable with the ownership that we had, with even maybe with Bielsa, we've got to say that, and certainly with the squad that we had. Really, if you look at it in the cold, hard light of day, when we signed Junior Firpo and Dan James, nobody should have been surprised that we struggled that season.
No.
Absolutely
not. No. It was, pathetic, wasn't it? Really?
Well, it's totally different now, isn't it? I saw somebody the other day, we need another 4 or 5, and I'm like, we've had one of the best windows in the whole country. Like, genuinely, we really have. The 4 signings that we've made have elevated us so much.
Yeah.
And the squad has developed so much. This ain't the same, Ethan Ampadu improving year on year to be a better Premier League player is not the same as Matthias Klick needing to do it again. Yeah. Or Luke Ayling doing it again. Jayden Bogle at 25, 26 improving another year is not the same as Luke Ayling at 29, who was really a bottom-end championship player performing way above himself. It's not the same.
Yeah.
Joe Rodon as a comparison to Liam Cooper.
Yeah.
It's not the same. So we need to remember that.
Yeah, 100%. And I still feel that kind of in the press and the coverage of it, I still don't think Farke's getting his proper credit for things. There was a great TikTok I saw the other day where it was like, guy has his head in his hands because the pundits are mentioning about the change at Man City again. Like that is the only thing that it kind of stumbled across this kind of thing. I'm really bored by that narrative. And I think it completely ignores what we did kind of early on and how we were a bit unlucky. Should have beaten Spurs and Bournemouth at home. We were unlucky to lose to Villa before that, Man City. So I think it's a lovely narrative, convenient thing to just go, he made this change through his wild card in and it pulled it off. I think it I think that really does him a disservice, really.
100%. There were so many performances, and don't get me wrong, there were some bad ones as well. But before the real turning point of the points started hitting the board, there were loads of performances in which we really should have taken more points than what we did. And this is why I spent all season saying, really, us and Sunderland should have switched positions. And I'd argue Sunderland should have finished even lower, but the reality of what we were seeing was pretty good. The Spurs performance, especially at home. I mean, we battered Spurs really, and we ended up losing 2-1 to 2 deflections, both Pascal Struijk's fault on the day. You know what I mean? Like that is really what happened. You mentioned the Villa game. We were excellent in the first half, and then we lose to two moments of unbelievable quality from Morgan Rogers. And I dare say, if James Trafford's in net that day, we don't lose that game. We probably win the game, because I think certainly the free kick should have been saved. So there's little moments in it, and some of it's quality, some of it's timing, some of it's luck, and it's all built together to finish where we finished. But you're absolutely spot on. It wasn't just a one moment thing, and anybody that's naive enough to think that Daniel Farke just went at halftime, right, the fans have been saying that we're going to play 3-5-2 or 5-3-2, however you want to word it. We're just going to do that against Man City in the second half and it's just going to work. Like, that is not it at all. Like, they will have been working on that all summer. and they would have been probably building towards it being the right situation. And I say this all the time, Brownie. From that day on, we then didn't just play 3-5-2. Just because we set up with the profiles in that formation doesn't mean that that's what we did. We played 4-2-3-1 a lot of the end of last season as well. It just looks a little bit different on paper to start with.
Yeah, absolutely. Top Banana, welcome along. And let's talk Leeds. First time popping in, boys. Hello, boys. Yeah, welcome along, mate. Thank you very much for watching. Leeds United announcing a few sponsorship deals this week, and it kind of makes you realise how much work's going off the pitch to try and enhance those revenues. And speaking of marketing, if I say the words "daddy wellness" to you, Jay, what springs to mind?
You're loading me up here. Whatever this thing is. I'm looking like a dad. Like I'm sounding like a proper.
It's beyond us, isn't it, mate? It's beyond us. We've passed over that generation, haven't we?
I messaged. Funnily enough, he's popped up on my Instagram before, and I never really kind of clicked. Yeah. So before the game, I saw the spin wheel thing where he decided we were going to be a Leeds fan, right? And but I didn't associate it with anything, and then this Dan James celebration, and then I saw Harry Wilson coming out of the changing rooms afterwards and having a laugh about it. I'm like, what the hell is going on? And I'm seeing Daddy Wellness all added in it and linked in it and stuff. And I click on it and I'm like, yeah, I've seen this guy, but I didn't put two and two together. And he's got 2 million followers on Instagram. And he just looks like a big fitness influencer that has just by accident then associated himself with Leeds United, and then it's connected and it's blown up. It's a bit mental, really.
Well, do you know, it's funny because it came up on my TikTok in the summer. At one point, somebody started doing it. I had no idea who he was at all. And then it came up. He had the big wheel. He had a different club on the way. And then, every day there was like an elimination. And obviously it came down to, and I was kind of invested in it. I would like stay on the videos to see who we ended up going. I was retweeting stuff or re-TikToking stuff, whatever they call it on there. I was like, oh, I hope he does, does get Leeds. And then he ended up getting Leeds. And then, it's like you say, 2 million followers, just purely from like the modern day PR machine, brand awareness, all that kind of stuff. It can only help as far as I'm concerned. It puts eyes on Leeds United. I know that there was a video I saw from a Leeds fan, very grumpy about it. Shouldn't be getting a free shirt, shouldn't be this. And, he wasn't there in the League One days. And I'm like, oh, have a day off. Have a day off,
exactly, mate. I mean,
you miserable person. Like, just lighten up.
I can't help being slightly cynical. I'd love to know whether it was legit that it got all the way to Leeds United and Leeds United with the pick, because influencers are clever, and Leeds United, as far as being outside of, I'd even argue that it might even be better to go for a Leeds United than one of the massive dogs, Manchester United, Chelsea, Liverpool, or City, because they will know the power of the influence of Leeds online. Leeds are massive, and I'd love to know whether it was not that it matters and not that I care. But
I've got 2 bits of, I don't know if you want to call it evidence, that might back that theory. So during one of the runs, he mentions very briefly that he's been to Leeds. This is way before he picked Leeds, and there was still loads of teams after. He was like, I kind of hope I get Leeds because I've been to Leeds before. And then there was another spin that he did where like the wheel jerked back, like it landed on someone and it jerked back. And he was like, I don't know what's going on there, and all this kind of thing. I'm like, so you're right. It could easily have been a whole kind of, thing. But
look, so much of what we see online is manufactured into a certain way. And if you choose to sit on the naive side of it and just enjoy it for what it is, more power to you. Yeah. And if you can also acknowledge the fact that sometimes it can be manufactured and still enjoy it, more power to you doing that as well, because that's life, right? Like, I don't watch TV or movie and think, this is all manufactured just to entertain me. Like, no, I watch the movie and I enjoy the movie, right? Like, so, and anybody being sour about this, like, it's the modern way, and it's great for Leeds United. It brings eyes to the club in a positive, fun enjoyment way. The players, this is my first thought with this. Dan James having fun with it the other day. I love that because it's bringing the dressing room together again. And, other players will be seeing that. And does it make a difference to whether somebody would want to sign for Leeds? Maybe, I think probably slightly. You know, if somebody sees that level of dressing room online and so, that's something that I'd want to be involved in. So, you know, Mihajlovic, you sent it to me, his initiation song. The lads were loving it. The lads were absolutely buzzing off it, and he's giving it all this, and he's having a right time. And then Harry Wilson gets up as well. I don't know if you've seen Harry Wilson. He gets up with the spoon and he's singing like. I love it. More of it. Give me it all.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I mean, I watch them kind of thing. I mean, it's probably something I've never been in a kind of dressing room part of a team, kind of in a season and stuff. But I look at that and I go, I would love to be like a professional football in my mid-20s playing for Leeds United right now. That must just be an absolute, I mean, a lot of hard work, a lot of graft, but a lot of fun and, you know, real enjoyment. The characters just seem absolutely brilliant. And Tariq doing his like rap song or whatever, hilarious. If you've not seen it already, go watch it.
No idea what he was saying.
No. It's the actions, isn't it? Like he's like all over the place, isn't it?
It was brilliant. You're absolutely right. It's something that everybody would want to be a part of. And I think, you know, professionals that want to be at the top of the game want to work really hard and they want to put the hard yards in. But it's important that in them environments that it's balanced with fun and enjoyment as well. You get far more from your team if there's a desire for the achievement, but also the understanding that they can let the guy down, have fun and enjoy it as well. And I made the real big point on Wednesday about having the right people in the dressing room and that being a part of the recruitment. To constantly get that right is really, really difficult. To not bring a bad egg in, you know, and disrupt that in any sort of way. And that's why you have to be really careful then when you're thinking of profiles like Rafael Leao or you know, even I put Igor Pajau in there as well. We don't know in terms of his profile whether that's going to be right. You know, Noah Okafor could have that at his door, and I think he does get on board with it. You know, but he's on the cusp. When you talk about Larger Ramazani, Cree Somerville, you know, and it comes with the territory of being a certain profile of player. Yeah. Because what I've listed there is a load of tricky wingers, and they are flamboyant.
Ego, a little bit
ego. Yeah. All that comes in them kind of players as well. So there's a balance, and it's a difficult balance to get.
Well, I think Noah Okafor is a really good example of this because when he came in, there were obviously concerns about, you know, fitness and all that, but also attitude. You know, you'd hear he's fallen out with this manager, he's fallen out with that manager. You think, ooh, what we kind of doing here? And then, you know, I went to the Wolves game last season. He's like jumping up and down like it means the world to him. I don't know if you've seen, there's a video out. I was meant to send it over to you. It's not on his YouTube channel or anything. It's like his management comment. It's like his pre-season. Yeah, have you seen it? And he's like, I'm guessing he's got a personal trainer there and stuff. And
I've not watched it as of yet, but I've seen it pop up a couple of times on my recommended. It's about 10 minutes long, innit? I will get to watch it at some point. Yeah,
really good. And I think what comes across as well is how much he kind of is. He makes it very clear about how he's treated at the club, how well he's treated, and how it's, you know, a big family and all that. And you go, now that's a player who I get the impression it could easily very quickly go the other way. And I think, you know, what we've done for him in his career, I think he realizes how massive that is because he was kind of all over the place, you know, a talented player, but started to be sent out on loans left, right and centre and injuries. And I think it's just kind of come together, and hopefully that's another example you can use when you're trying to attract players that, look, this is what we've done for this guy. You could be the same. So yeah, definitely well worth a watch. Now, Jay's not on X. He left months ago. Yes. There might be one thing that could convince him, even just to take a peek coming back, because Leeds United have got their very own crest hashtag. So there's a new hashtag, LUFC hashtag, and it's the badge. So actually got the badge, but what's funny is they've also got it for MOT. So if anyone hashtags MOT, the Leeds United badge comes up. And someone asked about it, and Craig Wilson, who does all the digital stuff, he said that he was surprised they allowed us to have it on MOT, as a lot of garages are now showing their support for Leeds United, obviously. So, I think that might have slipped through the cracks. So whether they'll kind of realise that, or
that's funny.
managers that are like, no, we don't want that. But yeah, so it's all brand awareness, it's marketing, it's hype, and whether you love it, whether you don't like it, I'm all for it, because whatever helps this club grow and get close at the top, I'm 100% behind.
It's huge for his future, mate. Like when O'Leary was in charge, social media was obviously not really a thing, but we were often considered as everybody's kind of second team because of the way that we played and the attraction to the club and some of the players that we had and these kind of things. And not that I care about like the casual fan as such, or like being everybody's second club, but we want to be spoken about. We want to be looked on and viewed on as being somebody that, a team and an establishment that people want to be behind and play for, first of all, be attractive to future managers, potentially, future owners, other investors. All these kind of things matter in terms of then the bigger picture of Leeds United being successful on the pitch. It's great. And it's nice. It's nice to have a club associated in a good way. For so long people have talked about Leeds as being falling apart again, and League One administration, docked points, all these kind of things. I remember being there watching Sky Sports News that night that Ross McCormack were talking about Brian McDermott being sacked, and everybody's laughing at us. That's not what we want, is it?
Yeah. Do you know what? There's so many that I've probably forgotten more crazy incidents than any other clubs have had in their lifetime. The amount of things, when you look through a timeline, it was like every week nearly. At one point, it was like every few days there was something
crazy.
I remember when I were travelling over in Australia and trying to watch the games and stuff, and I think that was when you had the famous 7, and all that, and all that kind of thing. God, we've come from some places to where we are now. I mean, this is happy days. This is happy days, and we just really need to just see it through. Got a comment in from Eddie here. Thank you very much for that. Tricky wingers with a bad attitude during our interesting signing and will lead to a big problem to the club and destroy the positive ethos we have in our dressing room. It's no to that at any price. I mean, the interesting thing is, I'm not saying he's got a bad attitude or anything like that, but you've got to be aware of the shiny toy. We remember Kevin at Fulham, and it's like, oh, Kevin, Walt's done nothing.
Yeah.
So you've got to be really careful. Well, let's get back to on-field matters. Tough game at the weekend, Jay. Sunday, 2:00, Brentford up next. And I just want to kind of talk about Brentford a little bit, because they're a club where I think a lot of people expected them to kind of buzz off at some point, and kind of fall back in line with their history. But I mean, you can't help but just sit back and praise. I mean, this Sangari that they've brought in. I mean, what winds me up with these top clubs, Jay, is you've got Spurs. They've gone out and spent an absolute fortune. And it's almost like they have to sign the flashy big name rather than getting the quality player in. I mean, that Sangari is coming. It's a club record. It's like 40 million. And he looks an absolute player. And you know what Brentford have? And we actually are a little bit similar to this. And this is why I'm totally relaxed about whoever we sign. I feel that confident that the club will have got that person in for the right reason, regardless of how they've done previously. And I'm looking at someone like Jadon Anthony is coming at Brentford, who we had in loan here and, hit and miss. And you wouldn't have thought that. But I don't know. I'm backing it to work in whatever way they need to make it work. I would back them to make that signing work. And, they've got Callum Wilson in and, the way they operate, Jay. I mean, Keith Andrews as a manager. I mean, 12 months ago, everyone was sat around going, he'll be the first manager gone. Yeah. And yet here they are a year later. They're also benefiting from a very settled summer, not many departures, not big departures. So it's two teams, Jay, in a situation, very settled, established, and it could be a hell of a game at the weekend.
Yeah, I think it will be a great game. I think it'll be tight. I think it'll be real slender either way. I mean, just in that prediction there, 2 or 3-0 Leeds. I think that's talking with his heart more than his head a little bit. Not that I knock your enthusiasm whatsoever there. Signature.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go with Really tough game.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely spot on. I think a lot of the top teams, they turn their nose up at certain branches of recruitment, even though the scouting department will tell them go and sign this lad. They're like, well, what's he done? And it'll be like, well, he's played X level at the minute, but he's ready to do it. They won't go for it. Signing Tonali for 100 million, Lou will tell you, that Tonali at 100 million is an absolute great deal for Newcastle. He's a good player, but they wouldn't miss him as much as what it would be suggested.
No.
The likes of the Sangari will never go straight to one of the top teams because it's not profile enough. The only team that do that is City, and I think City are pretty good at that. Yeah. They'll try and go a little bit off the beaten track to sign the right profile and hopefully see potential investment, or they go on to being right in the first team. Savio Savinho, who's gone to Spurs for a lot of money. I think there's some creative accountancy going on there as well. Yeah. But we've instantly seen in a Spurs shirt just how technically good he is. And I know some Man City fans are upset that he's gone. Now, he's not hit the numbers, right off the bat, but there's clearly some talent there. And a lot of the other top teams wouldn't have signed him when Man City did. So, and they've signed Allen from Palmeiras this week as another example. And they do that. You could argue that the same existed with the likes of Gvardiol. I think Semenyo was a little bit of a flirty risk for one of the teams hoping to win the Premier League, and he kicked on. I didn't think Semenyo would do what he did after leaving Bournemouth. He ended up being one of their best players. So, the City do it, but I would argue that the others don't really do that.
I feel like Liverpool used to do that, and I feel like Liverpool are suddenly trying to act like Real Madrid or something. It's
Isaac just thought we're just going to tech him, you know what I mean? Yeah. No, I agree. Brentford are unbelievably well run, mate, and I think it's going to be a tough game. I know, look, I think what Cosmo said there, I'll just bring it up. Where's my cursor? I think Brentford beat a poor Spurs team and Birmingham reserves. We will beat them. I think that's a little naive, but I hear you at the same time. I think what you're saying there does have some validity because Spurs are crap and Birmingham are a second string team. But if we beat Birmingham 6-1, I'd be gassing it. Yeah. I'd be absolutely gassing it, especially at St Andrews. So we have to give it the respect that it deserves. Brentford weren't a flash in the pan either at the beginning of this season. They were brilliant last season. I think they've improved in terms of some of their signings as well. They've recruited really smart. They've built on what they've already got. They've sent out some players that no longer are playing a part. I thought they sold Ethan Pinnock to Coventry. I think that's a terrible signing for Coventry. It's such a championship signing at 33.
In their business at Coventry.
Really a 3-year deal as well, Browney. At 33, I mean, I think he's an all right player, but if they'd have signed him in the Championship, I'd be like, that's a really smart signing, not in the Premier League. Smart. They're just a smart club. They've got it sorted. I don't think it's even, we said this last season, I don't even think it's that much about Keith Andrews. I just think it's Brentford. I think it's the coaching team, the facilities, the setup, the desire to play football in a certain way, the recruitment, all of it is just perfect for what they need at their size of club. I think also as well there's a pressure that comes with playing for some of the big clubs, and there's a certain level of pressure that comes for playing for Brentford in the Premier League. Yeah. Is it easier to play for Brentford in the Premier League than it is a lot of the other clubs? I would argue it is. I think you maybe saw that with Vissa last season as an example, going to Newcastle over being at Brentford. You could argue maybe Mbuemo as well as another example. I think he's shown himself to be all right at Manchester United, but the level that he were at Brentford probably not being hit yet. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. Going to be a tough game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think one thing what I do like about this is I think they blew Tottenham away physically last week. They ain't going to do that to Leeds United, not this Leeds United team. They're not going to be able to physically get at us. And the two games last season were fascinating because Brentford were rock solid at home and we outplayed Brentford at their ground and we were unlucky only to get a point. At home, I was looking back on it, actually. I actually watched a couple of minutes of our review on it as well, and it was in that portion of the season where we weren't scoring. There was like a run of a few games where we weren't scoring and we were very resolute, and it was a bit of a drab game. I just wonder if the key on Sunday could be Harry Wilson. That could be the difference that we didn't have last season. And that's the type of game where he can create something out of nothing or do something, that bit of X factor we didn't have last season. Yeah. This season, he might be able to get us the 3 points, I wonder.
Did you go to that last season?
No.
Have I made that up?
No.
I don't remember anything from the home game.
No, it was not. I'm exactly set. This is why I had to go back. I was like, what was the score? What time?
I knew it was 0-0, but I can't remember a single happening in the game. All that kind of vaguely hits my mind is that it was super tight and there was very little between the two teams. I remember the away game because we were much, much better than they were. We ended up going behind and then we equalised through that non-toe cross to Calvert and header on it. Beautiful goal. There's a load of kind of individuals that you could potentially look at from a Leeds perspective to say that could be the difference. Harry Wilson's definitely one of them. Anton Stack being another. You could also look at the likes of James Trafford and Tariq Trafford specifically. You know, when we draw 1-1 at Brentford, would we win that game 1-0 if Trafford's as goalkeeper? And they're the moments that we've seen being the difference over just the 2 games so far. That save that he makes on Tuesday night is stupendous, and he makes it look so easy. And I don't think that another keeper that we've seen in a Leeds shirt over the last 10-15 years would have made that save, and that becomes then the difference in winning that game. You know, it'll get forgotten about pretty quickly, but when you really contextualize it in the moment, we go 1-0 down there, the game's completely different. So sorry.
She agrees.
So then are the moments that could make a massive difference to I'm sorry.
Give her a mic. She wants to jump
on. Yeah, they're the moments that can make a difference, and that's why we've spent so much on individuals to do that. You know, and I'm really looking forward to it. I'm not gonna get too invested in a loss.
Yeah.
Just as the same, I won't get too ahead of myself if we win. But it would be another statement. You know, we've made a statement with this week already with the 2 victories against Forest. If we beat Brentford at home, people will start paying attention pretty quickly.
Yes. Agree completely. In terms of lineup,
we'll talk in a minute.
Plays in, it's a fascinating one. Me and Jay, we talked the other night after the game. We've got these choices on the wings. You've got James, you've got Aronson, Okafor, Wilson. Just in terms of that starting lineup, Jay, do you think Elvedi will drop back out B or back in? And do you think then it will be... what do you think will happen on the wings in terms of who do you think he'll start? Who do you think he'll go for on Sunday?
It's fascinating, isn't it? And I can talk myself out of so many debates with this because I think there's an avenue in which Okafor will start. But then I think there's an avenue in terms of which I think it just makes sense to go back to Brendan, Wilson, and Calvert-Lewin. I think that's what he'd do. I think if I had to guess and really put a prediction down, I think that is what he will go with, because I also think it's probably going to be what's most effective for Leeds in this game. I think Brentford will be quite tight. I think they'll be difficult to break down, and I think a combination of Wilson and Aronson will probably be better than Wilson and Okafor to start, and then Okafor maybe later on in the game. Maybe we can win the game plus 70 minutes with a moment from Okafor, and he'll get all the credit and adulation, and he'll should have started the game. But that's part of them getting us to that area of the game, you know. So I would be shocked if Elvedi starts, even though he probably deserves to start just as much as Xhaka does. You know, you can't start them all, can you? I mean, I was so impressed with Nico Elvedi the other day. I was so impressed. I thought it was brilliant. I keep on watching the highlights back and just thinking, that's just such a sensational debut. I think it'll be the same as what we went with against Forest in the opening day. I think.
Yeah. I wonder if he'll be tempted to start with Noah. I've got a feeling, but he don't like Brendan not being in the team, does he? I think Brendan just does so much. And like you say, he kind of gets you to that point, maybe where others can impact things later on.
Could you see Noah starting and Brendan going to the right and Wilson being on the bench?
Interesting one. Do you know what? What's nice is these level of debate we can have about the wingers, because it feels like you've got 4 options there. They're all kind of different as well, aren't they? They're really different types of wingers. So you've got Harry Wilson who can kind of, provide that special moment. It's all about, clever little passes and feints, and, he's got a wand of a left foot. You've got Noah Okafor where it's bursting past people. You've got Aronson, tricky, works hard. You've got Dan James, who's a speed merchant. Yeah. Really like interesting kind of options at front of the foot. I think with what Brentford will do, Brentford are power out, the Brentford are pace, power, physicality. I could see, based on that, actually going with Aronson and making sure there's legs and there's someone who's going to get back and do the defensive side of it. But I mean, it'll be interesting. I would love to see Wilson have a moment on Sunday. I would love to see him goal or assist, just to really kind of kickstart things off a little bit for him, do you know? Yeah. And I'm not saying he's been, disappointed. It's one game, for God's sake, that he's played. But do you know what I mean? I'd just love to see him have a moment, and it's like, that's why, he brought in, and there we go.
I think he's looked good.
Yeah, he looks really sharp, doesn't he? He looks really kind of up for it.
People's expectations are just so all over the place, and shiny new toy again in it. You just expect him to hit the ground running. But I like some of his clever movement, his clever body positioning. I see all that kind of intricate stuff, and I just think he's going to build into a quality operator.
Yeah. Do you think him and Calvert-Lewin, they'll be kind of a growth? Because there was an argument last week, and if he leaves that, that for the offside goal, if he'd have left that for Calvert-Lewin, he bangs it home, and that relationship, will that kind of develop as the season kind of goes on?
I'm sure it'll improve, and I think Harry will find his kind of footing to be able to deliver balls into the area that Calvert-Lewin wants to attack. I think that'll be the big thing for that relationship. I think that specific moment, if you're assigned the job of getting into the box and help Calvert-Lewin score goals, which is clearly what was the role for Harry Wilson in that area of the pitch in that moment, you're going to get your foot on the end of it. He's offside. Like, it happens, right? And he scores. If he's half a yard further back, we're 1-0 up. So I wouldn't believe in that. I don't know any sort of attacking player that would believe in that for the player that might be. Like, you can't know everything, can you? You can't know that you're offside and that Calvert-Lewin's right behind you that's going to then tap that in instead if you miss it. Like, he scores the goal. No, I don't think there's anything in that particular moment. I thought it was a really smart finish.
Been interesting, actually. If we'd have taken the lead then, because we were on top, weren't we? And it could have been a more comfortable game. A couple of comments to get into the room. Thank you very much, mate. I think Brendan starts not long before Elvedi is in the starting lineup. Yeah, but who for the room? Let us know. Cosmo, apparently Wilson always scores against Brentford. There we go. He's got to start then, hasn't he? Come on. Super interesting. Predictions then, Jay. Let's get a head and a heart prediction. What does the head say? What does the heart say?
I picked 1-1 last week, and obviously we ended up winning the game. And I don't know, first game of the season at home. I'm gonna say, can I say 1-0 again? Can we keep another clean sheet?
Yeah, there'd be some
2-0
defense.
2-0. I'm gonna say.
Is that head and heart?
I argued it with the guy earlier about saying 2 or 3-0, and I was saying you're being naive and a bit over ambitious, and I picked 2-0. Yeah, my heart 2-0. No, my heart 2-0. My head 1-1. My head 1-1. I think it's a really tough game, and I think Brentford we're finding them in such a great moment.
Yeah,
tricky one.
Eddie's going 2-0 and also mentions that Aronson will be on the bench and will cause havoc against tired legs. Wilson to start. My prediction, and it matches H&H, is very tight game, not many chances, real physical battle, but I'm backing Wilson to have some kind of impact in a 1-0 win, whether it's a free kick, a cross, an assist or a goal himself. I think that's what will happen. I think you're spot on about if we beat Brentford as well. I think there'll be a lot of people that will be looking at Leeds going, "Oh, what's going on there? Something special is brewing." Steve's going for 2-1 Leeds with DCL and Mecha as a super sub. Yeah, Mecha's great at them super sub appearances, isn't he, as well? And it does feel like we've got a bit of firepower on there. I do want to get your take on some of the other games this weekend. Just a quick kind of mention about transfer stuff. So Leeds United, this is according to Beren Cross in The Athletic, have arranged for Michael Zetterer to travel for a medical ahead of completing a transfer from Frankfurt. So hopefully that's the second goalkeeper kind of settled up. It's really weird because it's like one day it's like Perry's going to Torino, the next day it's like he's not and he is. Yeah. And the same with this Zetterer. It's like last week we were supposed to have kind of got it nailed down. So no idea what's happening there, but it might open the door for Perry to leave. And I was kind of having a little look for a few minutes before we were on, and there doesn't seem much Conrad Harder. I know that was mentioned before, so you could have Harder and Willie in the same team there.
I couldn't deal with that. I couldn't deal with that with the what's his name on TikTok that does the Daniel Farker voice. Oh. It does the impression. I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah. He would like be on Millionaire on the back of that. He would have months and months of content on that.
I couldn't deal with that.
Maybe the right kind of profile, or 21, not can't demand the game time. Sounds okay.
The rumour has it as well that we'd be looking at a loan with an option to buy see whether he'd be right, as a development into the Premier League. It'd make a lot of sense. He won't, as you say, won't be demanding loads of game time. He'd fit that profile of a kind of a target man.
Sponsor there. Brilliant.
I've also seen again apparently that Burnley are only looking for 8.6 million for Zian Fleming. And I really like Zian Fleming as a profile. And again, I think he would fit that position of probably being happy enough biding his time. He's young enough, getting back in the Premier League, looking to then build into being a Dominic Calvert-Lewin replacement, but challenge him at, he did well for Burnley last season, all considering. I think he's good in front of goal. We're seeing Liam Delap sign for Forest for 50 million for me. I know it's not our money, but that's mental for me. 50 million for Liam Delap.
For how many goals he scored last season? 2 or something?
2 last season. I think he scored 11 the season before. And I think, look, it's hard to judge him on last season given the landscape, but 35, 30, I could have probably got on board with it as being a decent signing for these. 50 million's mental.
I do feel we need to do something striker-wise, OJ. My fear is transfer window closes shut day after. It's like, DCL's out for 6 months. That is it. And you can't always, is there an element where you have to gamble a little bit and maybe there might be a little, I know it's kind of contradicting what I've said before about playing time, but that would be a problem, wouldn't it, Jay? If a DCL goes out, and look, the evidence is he's fit and he'll stay fit, but freak things can happen, can't they?
Well, freak things can happen all the time. Right, yeah. So we have Lucas Mecha, who, if we didn't have Lucas Mecha and we signed Lucas Mecha, we'd be saying he's a backup for Dominic Calvert-Lewin. Yeah. We can't have another player that's as good as Calvert-Lewin just waiting just in case Calvert-Lewin gets an injury. Mm. We can't look through the other Premier League teams, look through them all, and you won't find one that has a perfect backup striker. There's 1 or 2 teams in the Premier League that have 2 out-and-out 9s that are battling for the position. But you're talking the mega teams. Yeah? And take Arsenal as an example, right? Kai Havertz starts the opening game of the season. Now, Kai Havertz is not an out-and-out 9. No. He can play a number of positions. The only out-and-out 9 that they have is Gyökeres.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're the best team in the division. If Gyökeres gets injured, they would work it out between the other ones. That's how Mikel Moreno ended up playing up front. You know what I mean? So you cannot have just a plethora, especially of number 9s, because there's only one, and there's only going to be one that usually starts week in, week out. Yeah. So it's a real tricky one to get right, and the profile has to be spot on. So I don't want us to just be signing anybody. No. I personally would prefer us to spend the money on a left winger. If the left winger option is there, I would like us to, because I think that would then lead to more goals.
Yeah,
team,
Yeah, if you can get that. A couple of suggestions here. Roon, like Fleming, but Harder is a young talent. Eddie, I would like to have a Kamar Roof type player, Poacher and Pest up front. Steve, back in the day when all strikers were out injured, a big defender would be brought on to play an attack and usually would do well. Don't see much of that these days. Elvedi up front, there you go, you heard it here.
Yeah.
I wonder if there's a sense from the club of fudging through a little bit until maybe Harry Gray's of age. I mean, he's turning 18 this year.
Yeah.
So going into next season, he'd be 19. Now, he's meant to be an outstanding prospect. I just wonder if there's a sense of still thinking of a pathway for him as well, because we do start to have to, you have to have a couple of players coming through. I just wonder if there's a sense, look, if we can just, if we can get through, if Calvert-Lewin has another season like last season, we're absolutely golden, and then Harry can be that player where, he's not demanding to be playing all the time, but can kind of slowly develop into it.
It's an absolutely brilliant point. The same people that will be screaming, sign a striker, we need a backup for Dominic Calvert-Lewin, in a year's time will be kicking off with the club for loaning Harry Gray back out, or, not being able to give him game time. Like, it's a bigger picture in it for Leeds United than just this summer. You have to factor all that in. As what we've heard, I was talking a week ago about factoring Mateo Joseph in. I don't like Mateo Joseph, but we're going to have a striker on his hands in a few months' time that's going to be coming back, that's going to get no game time. And we're going to really want to give him some opportunities to then build his value back up. It sounds from what we're hearing as if Ramazani and Joseph are complete bomb squad now, which, you know what, I'm about it. Absolutely. But we've lost... Yeah, but we've lost that investment in that striker now, So we have to make sure that we don't do that throughout the squad. I think Harry Gray is hopefully going to be perfect for it. I'd love to keep Metcher in another year's time.
Yeah, I would. I really like him.
I do. And then have Harry Gray getting some game time behind a fully fit Calvert-Lewin. That'd be great.
Yeah, agree totally. Eddie, can we bring back Rafinha and Yeboah? Yeah, that'd be good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Just get your take on then some of the Premier League action this weekend elsewhere. Interesting one, Man United versus Ipswich Town. Ipswich is in the business again. Palacios and Tammy Abrahams. I mean, they are meaning.
Has that happened?
I think the Palacios one has definitely happened.
Palacios has. I've seen that. I'm talking Tammy.
Tammy one is practically done, I think. I don't think it's confirmed, but it's very super close. A loan from Villa. I don't know what Villa are doing there with them losing Watkins. They've got a bit of work to do.
Well, they've had Nicholas Jackson out there.
That's right. Yeah, 65 million or something, isn't it? But yeah, an interesting one there. Ipswich Town. I mean, I don't know how they're going to balance their books in a year if they stay up. I mean, I don't know how that's going to work because they've spent a lot more than, for example, we did. But yeah, incredible. So that'll be a fascinating one. You've got Villa Arsenal then on the Monday. Some interesting ones elsewhere as well. Spurs versus Newcastle. I'd be interested to see what Spurs are up to a week after. Coventry Hull as well tomorrow in a relegation battle at Coventry. You got Liverpool Forest at dinner time, Bournemouth Everton, and then Palace versus Man City. Tonight.
Some really interesting storylines. I mean, Manchester United couldn't have got an easier start to the season, could they? For God's sake, Hull away and Ipswich at home. Like, my word, come on now.
Crazy.
Like, they don't even make it subtle, do they?
No, getting a leg up, exactly.
I mean, massive game for Carrick, massive already, pressure huge on him. I mean, Ipswich go there and do a number on Manchester United. You're talking about Carrick already losing his job, aren't you? I think the same could be said at the bottom of the table, Coventry Hull. If Hull go to Coventry and win that game, you're talking about Coventry already having the backs completely against the wall, lost 2 out of 2 and losing against Hull. So many unreal storylines. Can Spurs, they get a good win against Charlton, but Charlton, you'd expect it. Can they go and in front of their own fans and beat Newcastle, who I think will probably have the tails up after the Liverpool game? I think they'll feel pretty good about it. Yeah, loads to like, mate. Exciting. And the between now and Tuesday is going to be exciting in the window as well. The transfer window has been mental, I think. Some of the fees and the signings and the situations that certain clubs and players find themselves in is crazy. I mean, Ollie Watkins has gone and taken 400 grand a week in the Saudi. I mean, I don't blame him in the slightest. I'd be doing exactly. I'd be like, yeah. You agreed it, yeah. I know, thank you. See you later.
Thank you. Yeah.
I'd be so. There were a Villa fan on Talksport the other day complaining about like his legacy, and I'm like, I'm sure he don't give a shit about his legacy. He's earning 1.2 million every 3 weeks.
Yeah,
back free.
Yeah, and he did stay with them when he didn't cook up a fuss when Arsenal were hot on his tail and stuff like
he's
that.
He's 30-year-old as well, Brownie.
Yeah, and the clubs will, get rid of players at drop of a hat, won't they? So yeah, agree with that. Good stuff. Are we back Sunday? Are you free Sunday for the review straight after? Good stuff. Yeah. So guys, myself and Jay will be live, instant match reaction to Leeds United versus Brentford on Sunday. So please check that out. And I'm wondering, do we have a little catch up on Tuesday night when the window is closed as well?
I think we're gonna do a deadline day stream, aren't we?
We normally do. I don't think we've set anything up, but we normally get together and do something for deadline day. It's not as fun as it used to be when it used to close at like midnight.
Well, it's closing at 11 this year.
Oh, okay, right.
Because it was 7 last year.
So it was last year, wasn't it? Where it was like 7 o'clock. It was like all done by like 8 p.m. You're like, so do keep an eye out on the channel for that as well. Thank you so much to everyone who commented today. I really appreciate that. If you're watching the video later, get your comments in as well. Please do smash a like on the video and do subscribe to the channel. I've been Stephen Brown with Mick, Jason Booker. Thank you, Jason.
Thank you, mate.
And we'll see you Sunday afternoon. Take care. Bye-bye.